This is extraordinary, and I think this has probably caught the Labour government. I don't think they expected this, really. This has put their whole plan in complete jeopardy, because now other hotels could follow suit. Councils could follow suit and try and take the hotels into court. But the question is now, Nigel Farage and a lot of people will see this as a victory.
Have said it, haven't they?
But the point is, where do they now go? I mean, if they're going to be let out of a hotel, where will they go?
Well, that's the point. I mean, it's one thing if this now starts a whole wave of councils going to court to close down individual hotels in their areas. It's another thing if the government doesn't have a plan B about where you are going to house asylum seekers. Now, when I talked to a senior politician from Epping when all these protests started, I was told that this asylum hotel had been closed by the last Conservative government. The council had asked them not to use it. The local council has always thought it was an unsuitable place to house asylum seekers. They haven't necessarily believed that the way the hotel was run was suitable for asylum seekers either. So I support them in going to court, and they've got a court judgment which agrees with them. But the trouble is the government doesn't have a plan B. There are thousands and thousands of asylum seekers still in the country who need to be processed. There's no plan to process exactly.
Yes,
no
I mean, on that point, Ava, the Daily Mail
process these asylum seekers as quickly as possible.
I mean, Daily Mail says Labour's migrant hotel policy in disarray. Not really Labour's migrant hotel policy, is it? It's one they've inherited. I mean, the Daily Mail does have a particular political slant, of course. But, presumably no party really wants migrants housed in hotels. It's just, where else do you put them?
No, of course not, because it's extraordinarily expensive. And it's also, you think about what these hotels are taking off of the council tax, off of the taxpayer. It's absolutely extraordinary. And they're charging way above market rate, by the way, because these hotels would not be used by your average consumer. But the problem is back in 2014, the government, the Conservative government, effectively halted all processing of asylum claims. And that meant that thousands and thousands of people essentially were detained in these hotels around the country. And they were told, well, there's going to be no way out of this for a good couple of years. I was down in Calais back in 2018, 2019. Some of those people are still in hotels.
Yeah.
So is that the answer then, Ed? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was just the kind of shift.
All right, Kate.
You love an interruption by me, don't you, Ed?
You're the boss.
Well, if only I were.
You're right, she is.
I'm really not. Is that the problem, that nobody wants them in the hotels? Where do you put them? But could one solution be then just putting pressure on the government to process even faster, just because they say they're doing it as fast as they can? And then wouldn't the solution be there?
Look, I'm not here to defend the last Conservative government. They messed up this policy as well, and arguably it was one of the key factors in why they lost the election so badly. But the fact is that immigration is a very salient issue with the electorate, and if the government does not sort out the small boat crossings, they will also lose the next election.
Very different
Whatever
to
you think about the merits or whatever, the government has to throw
asylum seekers
everything...
are a different number to net migration.
She's the boss now.
No, but they are.
I'll let you interrupt me.
I think the conflation is actually very dangerous, because what you're essentially saying is that over 750,000 people, the net migration figures that we had last year are all asylum seekers, are all small boat crossings.
I'm not saying that at all.
And they're categorically
absolutely
not. You didn't make it very clear, the difference.
I tried to, but I was interrupted.
The point
I'm saying
make your
is
point, then.
that the small boats has become a salient issue with the electorate, regardless of whether an individual voter is affected by it. They will judge the government on this. If I was Keir Starmer, I would throw everything I possibly had at this problem to try and stop the small boats. Immigration is a completely separate issue. Again, it's another issue that does concern voters. They want the immigration numbers controlled, but we also know that many people who come here legally come here to study at our universities. That's a fantastic thing. Many people come here to work in our businesses. That's a fantastic thing. Many people come here to be part of their families. That is a fantastic thing.
And many people come here as asylum seekers.
Whether or not you believe the asylum seeker, the small boats issue is a problem or not, it's a small proportion of the people who come to this country. The fact is, voters hate it and they want something done.
But, I mean, I think the point that Abe was probably trying to make is that, it is a small minority of people, but we've created such a big spectacle of...
Rishi Sunak made it one of his 4 tests.
And in all due respect to our viewers at home, they probably don't know enough of the facts, but they see the headlines, they see the boats, and it's enough for them to go, well, hang on, that looks like a big issue. But it's a tiny amount of people. But can I just
say that, and that's fun. But I think a lot of people contact this programme to say that they're living in a community where there's a migrant hell, and it feels like a big problem to them.
Yeah.
So regardless of what the actual backs are that you might pay, that feels like a big problem. But you live near one, don't you, Ava? And you haven't found it to be a problem.
I didn't know about it until the protests. I mean, I don't know what that says about my journalism skills. I just did not know about it at all until there were a lot of people who were waving outside, waving flags outside and then, making, an extraordinary amount of noise. But, since then, I have looked up, because it's one of those hotels you have to look up to see. It's not on the ground level. And it's dire. It's horrendous. It's, the sort of the idea or the picture that is painted by the tabloids that these people are living in luxury is just simply not true. It's like newspaper used as blinds. You can see people sort of blow up beds in dirty blankets. Like, these people are not happy.
And just to look at what proposals have been sort of suggested in the past that have all failed. I mean, this is the issue. And this is what we're now at hotels. But in the past, we've had disused military sites. This was a Suella Braverman plan. And in the end, it was legal concerns over the inhumane conditions. We had RAF camps, both proposed in Lincolnshire and North Yorkshire. Both faced local opposition, and there were lots of issues with them. The Bibby Stockholm, we've caused lots of issues there with the barge. That led to an outbreak of Legionella, fire safety issues, inhumane conditions. Waterlooville in Hampshire, that was going to house only small but 35 asylum seekers. Again, there was protests by 2,000 residents and a signatures of a petition of 10,000. And also in Huddersfield, West Yorkshire, that was going to be a big one. 700 asylum seekers that were going to be put in ex-student accommodation, probably where I went to where I probably lives. I went to Huddersfield Uni. But they were not implemented, again, because of local opposition. I mean, this tells you that whatever they try, if people have the concerns, as Kate says, and absolutely genuine concerns, they might be concerned that people come into their towns. But it doesn't matter where they are, people are going to complain. Where do we move from here, Ed?
Well, I mean, as I say, you can say that, all these people coming here as asylum seekers need to be treated fairly and decently, but you also have to understand that this is a nuanced debate and there are criminal gangs that organise people to come here illegally. A lot of people come from Vietnam to come and work here, work in different industries in this country. That is an illegal way of entering the country. These are not political refugees. These are not people seeking persecution. You have to work with third countries like Albania and Vietnam to try and stop the flow at source. But as I say, I'm not the immigration minister. I'm not a member of this government. I wasn't a member of the last government. All I'm saying is, as a political fact, for political survival, if Keir Starmer does not make a significant impact on these numbers, you are letting in the far right, you are letting in politicians whose views we don't necessarily share, and you can say it's outrageous that people are protesting, that the far right is helping protests outside asylum seeker hotels. You can turn that around and say, if you are not doing something, the public, if you're not being as effective as the public want you to be,
just add to that,
you are giving them
the far right
an
in that context is actually the Conservative Party, because you've had Robert Jenrick, who went outside the Epping hotel. You've also had Kerry Bainlock, who's been very loud and proud about creating these camps that she wants to detain people in. So the far right is actually the Conservative government.
Well, I wouldn't say Kemi Badenoch's talking about camps. Heard Adil talk about the whole series of policies that different governments have tried. If Kemi Badenoch is talking about camps, that's no different from talking about sites on defence sites.
On the asylum hotels, increased the number that were being used and is now protesting outside them. So it does, as you say, get nuanced/confused when you start to look into the details, doesn't it? I suppose, we have 10 councils with overall control by reform. They at least, it's been suggested, are going to start lodging appeals and, legal action to try and remove the hotels, asylum hotels in their area. This does give centres for chaos, doesn't it? Disruption, disorder, which no community is going to want, whatever the reason for it happening.
Well, the people aren't going to disappear. I think that's the biggest point that should be made. They're more likely going to be moved into HMOs around the community, so they'll be moved
houses
into
of multiple occupation.
I would have got there, Ed. Anyway, so they'll be in the community, which I'm sure that people wouldn't want. You'd probably rather have people centralised in a location where they then can be processed properly than dotted around the country.
That's one of the ideas why the hotels did provide an element of security. The other option, of course, is there isn't enough social housing. And that would be a place where you might put people, but that would trigger all sorts of distress from those who are waiting to get access to here already.
Yeah. I mean, there is another concern, though, that, going back to, Nigel Farage has written an op-ed in the Telegraph today, and he's talked to, he's asked people to go out on the streets and continue these protests. He's calling for peaceful protests, and the majority of people in Epping were involved in peaceful protests, but there was violent disorder, and there was real concern, and that's one of the reasons why they've placed this injunction, because of the harm to the community and probably the harm to the actual asylum seekers themselves as well. But does it send out a message? I mean, we're already seeing some people on social media, now they could be bedroom warriors for all we know, but there are people on social media saying this works. This idea of going out, causing disorder...
Yeah, absolutely.
And is that if we start seeing pockets of that, you start to worry about, can the police cope with that? If we had just 10 hotels with all these kind of violent protests, I mean, we could be, that's...
I think these protests are completely wrong. I think they are being used as a vehicle by the far right to stoke disorder. I think Nigel Farage's remarks about the social order breaking down as a result of this are outrageous. I do not support Robert Jenrick going to effectively give succour to some of these demonstrations at all. But I also do acknowledge the fact that, as I say, unless the government is seen to be making a real impact on this policy. I'm just talking about the government's political survival.
And you believe
if I was sitting in Downing Street now as Prime Minister, I would be making sure I was doing absolutely everything I could to have an impact on this problem, because the public are fed up.
What would you do? Like, if you were sitting
I've talked about, I'm not the immigration minister. I'm just telling you, as a political...
But then I could just sit here and say, if I was in government, I would sort it out.
That's quite... I mean, one of the options, and they do it in European countries, is that a lot of asylum seekers in a lot of European countries, they can actually, once they arrive, they can go out and work. Now, we don't allow them to work.
That could well be
that, but will the British public accept that? That's the thing.
I think people would accept it. I think it is a weird thing that people come here seeking asylum and you keep them effectively kicking their feet for 2 years, unable to work. Many people with very good qualifications. I would love to see a route into temporary work for people who are waiting to see their asylum system, their asylum application. I assume the argument against it is that it provides yet another incentive potentially for people to come here.
Yeah.
And then the problem that you've got, actually, is a lot of these people are working illegally, so they're working for cash in hand, and then a lot of them, particularly around where I live, are working for these food delivery groups, but they obviously can't create their own account. They rent this account off a third party, someone who can create one, which means that they are totally lost in the system. They're not getting their fair wage, and the only person who benefits out of this is some third party in Silicon Valley.
So if they are working, we might as well get the tax out of them.
Well,
Put
absolutely,
them on the books.
That's the argument, isn't it? So just over 50 minutes' time, inflation figures will come out, and the Chancellor is not expected to be delighted by them. There are other figures as well. Retail price index is also not expected to bring her delight. But this talk of property tax as a potential solution is featured in a lot of the papers this morning, and it isn't going down well with those who own homes, for starters, is it? So at the moment, you'll be able to explain this better than me, but as I understand it at the moment, when you buy a house, you pay stamp duty. When you sell a house that's your home, so not only if you're a landlord with loads of properties, your home, you don't pay tax. The suggestion is this would change. What would the implications be of that?
Well, I am in favour of property taxes because property doesn't move. Property is not a billionaire that can get on their private jet and fly to a tax haven. It's there, it's not going anywhere. And even if it's owned by somebody who doesn't live here, you can still tax it. But this is incredibly dangerous territory for the government. That phrase, an Englishman's home is his castle. We are a property-owning democracy. People care about their homes. We are actually very highly taxed on property compared to most European countries. But there is no doubt that property tax is a mess. Council tax has not been updated for 30 years. Buckingham Palace pays less council tax than a 3-bedroom semi in Hartlepool. And stamp duty is a massive brake on people moving houses. So there is a need to sort it out. But the minute you start meddling with a system, I won't mention the poll tax.
Some of the detail, and this is all kind of
territory.
speculation from the time. So this is on your primary residence. Up until now, there's
your home,
your own home, yeah. And they're saying that you'd have to pay. Higher tax rate payers would pay 24% of the value of any gain. So from what you sold, what you bought, like capital gains tax, or 18% if you're a basic tax rate payer. Now, there's a lot of discussion about what the threshold might be. The suggestion is 1.5 million, which therefore wouldn't be a lot of people. I mean,
Yeah,
it would be a significant number of people to create.
In central London, it would be significant, but elsewhere, not.
Elsewhere, people in the north will go, well, most people have just gone, OK, phew, that's not me in the north. A lot of people in London have gone, oh, hang on a minute, this is us. So, but that's the thing, isn't it, really? I mean...
Absolutely, and actually very few European countries do levy capital gains tax on the prime residence. America does, interestingly enough. America, you sell your home, you pay capital gains tax, and you also pay quite high property taxes in America.
I guess for a lot of people, though, it hits into what feels like a bit of an attack on older people, because they're the people that would have had a property a long time, most likely to have done, seen an increase in value because the property's increased, maybe relying on selling that property in order to pay for a retirement and life after, they stop having an income. And it feels like, oh, my goodness, can't even rely on that or now, particularly in a part of the country
I suppose if you're
where
downsizing as a parent, that's what you mean. So, lots of older people downsize, don't they?
They're downsized, people leave home downsized, which is often quite helpful for the market, isn't it, when people downsize, because it frees up other properties. So do you think this is being seriously considered?
Well, the problem is... the appreciation that is afforded to a lot of people's homes, normally, typically that is because the local council or local government has improved the amenities that surround that house. So they might have added in a new train station, there might be a new green space, they might have redone the roads. That appreciation, you personally as the homeowner haven't contributed. So you haven't actually been...
Well, you've been paying your council tax.
Well, I was going to say... This is the technicality that Labour are trying to get out on. So you're not technically a quote-unquote working person. And obviously they sort of hemmed themselves in with those very strict tax rules at the beginning of their premiership, where they said no working people will pay any more taxes. So this is sort of essentially this is a syntax issue. This is a very wordy way of getting around not increasing income tax.
OK. Should we talk tipping? Should we move on?
OK.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Now, you go into your local pub where you live in West London and you go to the bar, Ed. Would you be happy if the landlord charged you 4p for the pint just for ordering it from the bar as a bit of a tip for the staff?
This is
4%,
very much
sorry, not
Ava's
4 pence,
territory.
4%.
The pint in the pub is Ava's territory, but I would say it really annoys me. It really annoys me. If I go to my local sandwich bar and buy a sandwich over the counter, you pay on the, contactless,
and then it means sandwich bar.
No, posh one.
You mean someone that's made your
We're talking
avocado...
We're talking, own Instagram account, sandwich bar.
I go to my sandwich bar. I love it. Yeah.
They send, they give you an optional service charge, and you think, hold on, you've just handed me a ready-made sandwich over the counter.
So do you not pay it? Do you say,
Of course I pay it. I'm English. I'm embarrassed. They know who they're dealing with.
But in America, because obviously the staff rely very much on the tipping, it's part of their wage. That's a standard thing at a bar. It's like $1 a drink or something. They kind of say it is.
That's so wrong, though, isn't it? I mean,
so why do you think that's wrong?
Well, paying your staff $2.50 an hour, which is what a lot of them earn, and then expecting them to rack up tips off the back of it. Like if you've had really excellent service when you've gone out for a meal, you probably will want to tip. But if you've just poured me a pint at the bar, by the way now, which is around £8.50 in some places. Like, how on earth am I meant to pay you service charge?
So this comes
do you think it's an easy way for landlords or the boss owners, whatever the business is, whether it is Ed's posh sandwich bar or not, it's an easy way for them to get out of paying decent wages and relying on the customer who's already paying a lot to pay more?
Yeah, relying on us being British and panicking and just accepting it and paying it. But also, I worry that they're going to spit in it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I pay it.
The next one they might go,
I see what you mean.
So this stems from a pub in London, by the way, and of course they have said, because they have to now, 100% of the tips will all go to the staff. So I suppose in these times, on one hand, we worry about the future of pubs. And if this is a way that the staff, the owner has gone, look, I can keep this pub open if you're willing to pay a little bit more for the staff, then that's probably OK, isn't it? I mean, in the end, it's a...
Why not charge an entrance fee? Just charge people £1 to come into your pub.
It probably
see how that goes down.
It probably should be seen as a national emergency, what is happening to the pubs around the country.
So?
Yeah, I know that sounds really hyperbolic, but, if you look at, especially in places where there aren't community centres and there aren't places to go during the day, I do think they should be reclassified by the local council or by central government as actually, as centres for, sort of mental health centres, which I know sounds incongruous
they
because there's
are
alcohol
useful
there,
community
but
spaces, aren't they?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, without them, like in a lot of places, like what on earth? How are you going to see people you know? How are you going to, you know, defeat the loneliness epidemic that we have in this country?
Maybe we can get asylum seekers to live in the pubs and run them for us. You know?
Joined up government. Joined up government. This is. We like to hear this.
There might be gaps in the
clear
market.
guy thinking.
There's also another proposal, and this surprised me because I did have periods taught about at my school in a mixed class. We were all in together and we all got told it in quite a biological way, it has to be said. It might be done differently now. But a proposal, because apparently it doesn't happen now in schools, boys and girls should be taught about periods together. Does this surprise you?
I thought that it was.
Yeah, me
I'm
too,
with you.
my
I did not
experience.
know that this was a new thing. Were you taught with that?
So I went to a boys' school, so we never
Ed's
talked
gonna
about
say,
any of this.
what's
But I
a
still think we
period
should have
now?
probably learnt about it at boys' school. We didn't go
You
through
weren't taught?
No, we weren't told anything about them.
Can you imagine that poor teacher that has to give that class?
I know.
I mean, I
because-
understand.
Yeah, I get it.
Poor
I get
teacher.
it.
Yeah.
We weren't taught. What was your experience, Ed?
Adil, I've just explained that I'm British. I can't talk about this stuff.
In
This is mortifying.
Ed, I hate to...
This is mortifying. We're British people. We can't talk about this stuff. At least
Ed, you're
all
kind of not
alive,
qualified for this job
You're
you're
right.
doing right now. If you're not going to
40
talk about
I
it.
left school 40 years ago. Can you imagine
dear.
the idea?
It was all black and white.
An all-boys school.
Do you feel
I would have
comfortable-
been taught about periods 40 years ago.
Yeah, but looking
You-
back...
you-
Not a chance. But I think it's totally right.
Yeah.
Should
Obviously
we
right.
talk about Ukraine?
It's obviously right
comfortable
that
territory?
boys and girls
for
should
you?
be taught this stuff together. It's
Do you think that makes sense?
long overdue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that everybody knows about it at the
Yeah,
same time.
completely
Let's talk Ukraine, which we've talked about a lot this week, of course, because of the extraordinary, unprecedented in modern times gathering of European leaders to back up Zelensky at the White House. Trump said yes, would back up any with security. Yesterday, though, referenced particularly not boots on the ground from the US, but referenced the UK being involved in that. I think we've got a little clip of that. Let's have a look. Well, so therefore, over to you guys, Europeans and the UK, because it looks like if forces go in, it'll be down to us, which will affect what people think, I think, won't it?
If you
And
think about
hey,
the scenario, imagine we have got military troops, people, men on the ground there. Now imagine Russia do break the terms. One rogue soldier breaks the term and fires across wherever the line is. What does that British soldier decide to do?
Yeah, you're absolutely
if
right.
If he
It's,
or she fires back, that could be the start of World War III. That sounds really dramatic, but that's what they'll be thinking about, won't they, right now?
It's extremely dangerous territory. There was a moment, I think, during the Balkan Wars when the Russians came to an airport, I think in Kosovo, and the British general who kind of headed them off at the pass talks about it as a very dangerous moment in the conflict. And you can have... You know, Putin does not want European troops in Ukraine. Absolutely not. So I think whatever Trump may say, I very much doubt it's ever going to happen. But you're right, the minute you do put boots on the ground, and it's a really telling moment in terms of whether Europe's prepared to step up, you risk escalating the conflict very, very significantly. I think the whole thing is so depressing, watching Trump try and manoeuvre this peace deal. That picture of European leaders sitting almost like school children
We're looking now,
in the Oval
actually,
Office
slightly
in front
different
of the in front of the Resolute desk. I mean, the whole whatever the outcome of the Ukraine war, and we hope that Ukraine wins. Europe has to look at its own defence now. We've seen what happens if America becomes an unreliable ally. We have to rely on ourselves going forward.
Ava, what do you think?
The problem is it's still this minerals deal that's being talked about by America, right? So if you are going to do this sort of, if America's going to be able to usurp all of this wealth out of Ukraine and that's how they get quote-unquote peace, why on earth would European troops be in there defending that? You're essentially going to be in there defending our financial interest. And I mean, how's that going to work? Is that going to be conscription? Because I'm certainly not going to go down to Ukraine and stand on the border to make sure that Trump is able to get his pay packet.
Yeah.
You know, that's not sort of the merits of war, is it?
It's very nuanced, as you said, Ed. There was a lovely image, though, and you have to wonder what was going through Emmanuel Macron's mind and others when he showed them his huge display of MAGA caps. I think we've got that image there. Just imagine browsing around, and these are all my incredible caps.
Let's have a look. Oh...
I mean, look at that. And this one was from Carolina, and this one is from... What is Zelensky thinking at that point, having fought a bitter and difficult war?
So depressing.
It's like a child showing you their bedroom, isn't it? Really, like, oh God.
I mean, I guess it's just got what's so awful and cringe-making about the whole thing is you kind of know it's got to be done for the next 3.5 years. Who knows? Maybe the next 8 years. If
Just got to play the game.
Changes the US.
So that's politics. Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Ava Santina.
Come back later
this morning.
All right.
Yes, please do come back. Don't go to the pub in between, whatever you do.